Hey everybody, I'm Invisiblekatana, and earlier today I found out that there is the possibility that we're going to be getting a Resident Evil Netflix series later this year. And the reason that I put it in the title, whether it's real or it's fake, is because at this point, there are literally two news sources that I found that actually have this report. One of them came out on, I believe it was February 11th, and the other actually came out today. So these two media sources, the first one I have up is IBT Times. I don't know what IBT stands for, but their story came out on February 20th, 6:16. So it is currently 6:20, which that can't actually be right. I guess that was 4 minutes ago. Apparently, that can't be right because I was looking at this a long time ago. That's weird. Anyway, IBT has it, and then there's another media outlet called Truthy Media. I assume that's how you pronounce it. It's just the letter I in between Truth and Media, so I'm assuming it's Truthy Media, the #1 real news outlet in the universe. Anytime somebody does that, I always get like super suspicious anyway. But their story came out on February 11th. And there are a couple of things that make me say, okay, this could be real, and then there's other stuff that make me think it could be fake. Because if there's anything that'll make me do some actual research, is video games, especially Resident Evil. Is my favorite franchise. I would love for it to have a really good adaptation. You know, we just had the last movie, which was really bad, personally speaking. But I love the game. I'm playing through 7 right now. I'm wearing this shirt that's actually a little too tight for me because it shrunk. Stupid shirt. I got this because I love it. I love Resident Evil. Like, we might see this in the fall. Like, that's how crazy this idea is. We could see the Tyrant in CG, I would assume. Well, I don't know. They did Nemesis, like actual prosthetic Nemesis in the movies. That's one of the coolest things about that franchise. So who knows? We might see that in the fall. But there's some stuff that says yes, and there's some stuff that says no as to whether or not this news is real. One of the things that I think kind of promotes the fact that it could be real is the fact that Konami has Castlevania coming to Netflix. That's been talked about for, I'd say, like basically the past 2 months. I think it was started at the beginning of this year, and it was officially announced, like, yes, there's a Castlevania series coming. Of course, that's Konami. That's not Capcom. There's all the different legalities and stuff like that, different companies and everything. But that show is being made. At least I've heard a lot about that. That wasn't something I just heard about. And, you know, there's one news source that came out on the 11th, and there's only one other source that came out with a story today. So I've heard about that quite a few times compared to this Resident Evil thing, which I just heard about. And it's crazy that with what's happening right now with Resident Evil, considering Resident Evil 7 recently came out, and they just did DLC, like the second batch of DLC just came out last week on Valentine's Day. We still have another DLC coming out like May. You'd think there would be some news on like either the Resident Evil stuff. Like, I went directly to the Resident Evil thing. I guess I should have gone to the Capcom Twitter account, but I didn't see anything on the Resident Evil thing that said, like, yeah, there's going to be a Netflix series, because it was the account for the actual, for Resident Evil. So I was like, well, why would I go straight to Capcom if I can just be like, hey, if anything's going to specifically say Resident Evil is going to Netflix, it would be the Resident Evil Twitter account. But I didn't see anything on there. I tweeted at Netflix to see if there was any truth to it. I didn't get a response back, which kind of made sense because it's Netflix. They have who knows how many people tweeting at them all the time. But I'll add that in if I happen to get any information in the future. But the one thing that really says that this could be possible is the fact that Castlevania is going to be a series on Netflix as well. And it just makes a lot of sense that they would do something like this. They're going that route, which would be action horror for Castlevania, I would assume, depending on how they do it. And this would just be like complete horror, and it could be psychological horror, and there's so many possibilities to it. But to go through what these two news stories have, basically it's that shooting is supposed to start during the spring. We get the episodes in fall, and it's supposed to be, the first season is Resident Evil 1. There's the possibility that they would blend both Resident Evil 0 as well as Resident Evil 1 together for the whole first season, which I would assume would be about 13 episodes. Just, that's only going based off of the Marvel Netflix shows. They all have 13 episode seasons, and they could do that. If you go by, the actual time it takes to play those games as far as like perfect runs, not even speed runs, just a perfect run, it's fine. Like, you go through, maybe you have to solve some puzzle, it takes you a minute. Those games are actually very short if you're really going through them. Not counting, multiple storylines and stuff when you get to like Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 having multiple stories for the separate characters. And I would love to see that happen. I think that'll be an amazing idea. It would be great. I would prefer it if every season every game had its own season instead of like splitting them up, because there'd be no real reason for that. I think, you have all these games, like just make each one 13 episodes. Why not just do it that way? For one, that makes it where they can, spread it out longer. And secondly, that's better for us too. As long as it's done right, we'd have just more seasons, and I would just prefer that in general. But the stuff that starts to get a bit iffy as to whether or not this is a real news story or just somebody just threw it out there is when it comes down to mostly random images that I've seen. And this isn't really any guarantee of anything, but typically when there's pictures shown of stuff and it's a fake picture, it instantly makes me think, well, this isn't going to be a real story. So this is the picture. I'm going to have to zoom in for this. But this is the image. It's all blurry now. But that's the image for Resident Evil that Truthy Media has for their thing. And then this is the Haunted Mansion. And somebody did this on Facebook. I went to the post, and so a lot of people, of course, already assume it's fake. But, oh, that's Pokemon Go. But these are the pictures. And you can see it's just basically reversed. Like, you can see the door is just, the light's coming out a different way. It's, of course, zoomed in. And there's not much of a difference to it. Like, the light is just on the opposite side. So when you have stuff like that, it's easy that could have just been, they made it up on the website, but they also don't have it there. It says Resident Evil Netflix when I go to the actual website. That's what it says underneath that picture, because any news organization, when they have a picture, it'll say if it's a fake picture or if it's, like just a representation or something, but it literally just says Resident Evil Netflix. So that's what it says. It has the date. It's like all episodes fall 2017, and it has Netflix and Netflix original series on the top. But it's like, that is, of course, unless somebody somehow magically made almost a perfect recreation of the Haunted Mansion picture, and it just so happened to be swapped. This is a fake poster, and that's what makes me believe that this is definitely fake news that unfortunately means we won't get an actual Resident Evil series in the fall. Now, I would love for this to be real, but as of now, I personally think it's fake, just due to the fact that, like I said, especially with the amount of stories that have come out for it, it's literally only 2. Like, outside of me and other YouTubers, there's 2 stories, like 2 official website stories. There's 2 places that I've seen so far, and it's the IBT and the Truthy Media story. So unfortunately, at this point, I think it's a fake story. But even throwing that aside, I still want to talk about Resident Evil as a Netflix series and what I think they could do and how I think it could work and how amazing that would be and how easy it would be for them to actually do it. Because when I first saw the news, I was like, oh man, how in the world would they do that, considering the fact that once you go from Resident Evil 0, which of course came out after the original games anyway, but once you go back to like 1, 2, and 3 and Code Veronica and stuff like that, you have, or at least 1 and 2 specifically, you have multiple characters that you get to choose from. So the first game, you pick Jill or you pick Chris, and you have a completely different campaign based on what you do there. Rebecca shows up if you play as Chris, Barry shows up if you play as Jill. I forgot the one guy's name, but the dude who gets killed by the snake, he shows up in different places depending on who you play as. And it's very interesting. Okay, well, they're split up, but I can't believe I'm saying this, if it weren't for the Wii, we wouldn't have these like pseudo-retcon versions of the game where all the characters stay together, because we have the Chronicles game. So we have Umbrella Chronicles, which goes through Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 1, and Resident Evil 3, and then the Dark Side Chronicles games, which has Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil Code Veronica, and then like the custom story. And all of those basically recreate the classic games where the characters stay together. So Resident Evil 0, they stay together anyway for most of the game, and I think that's something that they should keep in there, some of the parts where they actually get separated, because that was just it was actually a part of the story. But for like Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, keeping the characters together, they could totally follow in line with those versions of the stories, where it's like, okay, the characters were together the entire time. They could split them up and just bring them together a bit more often compared to the game where you like never see anybody else, like any of the playable characters. You never see them until the very end of the game. So they could do it that way as well and just focus on, which character is probably more popular from whichever game. So odds are it would be Jill for Resident Evil 1, and then if they did second season for Resident Evil 2, it would most likely be Leon, thanks to Resident Evil 4 making him such a popular character in the franchise. But I feel like they could totally do that if they went in line with the Chronicles games storylines, where they kind of retcon it and keep the characters together throughout the entire stories instead of them having separate paths. They kind of stick together. That, like I said, though, they could easily figure it out and just say, all right, well, we swap back and forth. They're always in these giant locations. They could be in the mansions. They could, take certain liberties where they do meet up throughout the story of them going through the mansion, or RPD for the second game, or just whatever they would do with Resident Evil 3. I mean, that they could totally keep as just a solo thing, but, because you only play as Jill in that, outside of specific portions where you play as Carlos. But 1 and 2, if they switched it to where the characters stayed together, it would actually be fine as far as I'm concerned, but I would love to see it. I mean, Resident Evil 7, of course, came out this year. Despite the weird controversy that it has, where some people just absolutely hate it. I feel like mostly because it's first person, and that's about it. Everybody seems to hate it. Or if you like it like I did, because it's actually a really great game, it's still Resident Evil 7. So Resident Evil 7 is out there. It's really big right now, and well, the movies don't really make that much of a difference, but the last movie did come out, and some people enjoy it, and it's just more of Resident Evil being out there in general. Even if it's only a name, it's still Resident Evil being out there. Last year was the 20th anniversary, so it actually makes a lot of sense that this sort of thing might actually happen. That makes a ton of sense to me, where it's like, okay, well, they talked about it a lot, 20th anniversary, what are we going to do? Sadly, we got a crappy game as the special 20th anniversary thing last year, which was Umbrella Corps. So we got that, which, but it was still the 20th anniversary, and it makes a lot of sense. We have the Resident Evil 2 remake coming out recently, before Resident Evil 7, and I believe before Revelations 2 as well. We had, of course, the HD remake, the Origins collection for Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1. So there's been a lot. If you really look at the past 3 or 4 years, there's actually been quite a lot of stuff. Most of it good, fortunately, for Resident Evil. We've had 7. The HD collection is phenomenal. Revelations 2 is a really great game. So we've had some really good stuff, just celebrating. They did an anniversary tour across all the United States for Resident Evil 7, where people could go to the event and win prizes and stuff like that, and get a chance to play the game in VR early, which was really cool. I actually got to experience that, so I love that one. But there was a lot. It was the 20th anniversary, and it makes sense that they would have something like this to kind of give to the fans this year. And of course, they would have to have been in talks about that for a long time, but I still just don't think that it's actually real. And that's the unfortunate thing about it. And it's mostly the picture stuff. And like I said, the Haunted Mansion thing. And I even searched when I looked up the Haunted Mansion poster. I went to the website, and it said that that was added August 29th. I mean, obviously it's an old film. It would be easy to find out that that was the actual poster. But I was like, just in case, I want to make sure that this was added to this website a long time ago. And it was added when the year the movie was coming out. Unless that entire website was just totally made up and somebody put the fake date on there. But it doesn't seem to be a real poster, which is really unfortunate, because that's what I first saw when I was on Facebook. And a friend of mine posted, and I was like, holy crap, that's insane news. But sadly, I just don't think it's real. But it's still something worth talking about. I mean, there were supposed to be TV shows, if I remember a long time ago, they were supposed to make a show. I know there was one about Outbreak, but even before that, I think they were supposed to be making some sort of show based off of Code Veronica, or it was gonna be something where Claire was in it. That's all I remember, and I feel like it was supposed to be animated. And that was before the 3D movies came out and anything. It was supposed to be a series, and I believe it was supposed to be animated, and Claire was supposed to be the main character. And I never forgot that. And I was like, that never went anywhere, but I would have loved to have seen that. And that was back when it was still in the Code Veronica days. I think that was before. That may be right after 4 came out or something like that, but it was still around that time when everybody still was Resident Evil 100%, except for maybe the first Survivor game. But everything was still really great for Resident Evil. It wasn't iffy on this game or that game. It was just no, all in all, yay for Resident Evil. And that never really came to light, and they never really did anything else with that. It took forever for us to get the Resident Evil 2 remake. We've wanted remakes forever for these games, and I wanted 3 for I don't know how long. As soon as they made the Resident Evil 1 remake, I was like, well, we need 2 and 3 right now. I was waiting for that for actually when 4 came out. I was like, it would be sweet if they remade 1, 2, and 3 exactly like this. Just keep it in the exact same place. Just change the camera angle, and that's it. And keep all the lack of items and everything like that. It would be insanely amazing. Just new perspective. exactly same game, just new graphics and new perspective, and I would have loved it. And that would have been all it took. But we're finally getting the Resident Evil 2 remake. Who knows, it might take another decade before we get the Resident Evil 3 remake. And who knows if we'll ever get an actual Netflix series. I would personally love it if we did, but I don't know. Like I said, based off of what I saw, this doesn't actually seem like it's going to be real, which is really sad. Just, you know, the fake poster deal, the fact that there's only 2 sources out of all of gaming, the IGN, Kotaku, everybody. It's 2 places I've never even remotely heard of that reported on this amazing gaming news. Like, of course, it's Netflix and it's, you know, visual media as far as television, basically. It's still based off of video games, and especially with the Konami stuff happening for Castlevania later in the year, you would think everyone would be on top of this story. Like, that's definitely happening, but there's only 2 sources, and they're like 9 days apart as far as when they actually told basically the exact same story. So I sadly don't think that this is real, which really sucks, because of course it's Resident Evil, favorite franchise. I would love to see, I don't even know who they would choose, what they would do with it, but I would love to see that. And sadly, I don't think this is real, but I would still love to know what you guys think about it. I hope it's real, and I hope it just happens to be the weirdest introduction to like some actual news I've ever experienced, where it's, you know, like I said, it's like 9 days apart and still only 2 people told the same story. It's like, it's a little weird to me, but as long as it's true, who gives a crap? I would love for it to be real. I'm just not being super optimistic. I definitely don't want to be too optimistic, because like I said, I still remember that old show. That was, I don't know, that probably was 10 years ago or something when that happened, or maybe like 8 years when that animated thing was supposed to happen, and that never came to light. So definitely don't want to get my hopes up, and especially with the, you know, little research that I've done, which is exactly expert research, but what little I've done, some weird things have come up, like I said, fake pictures and things like that. So I want it to be real. I really, really do, but it's going to be what it's going to be, and we'll have to find out, you know, next couple of days, couple of weeks. And I'm definitely going to keep my eye on this as to whether or not this is real. And if it's officially announced, I will definitely be doing a separate video just talking about, you know, kind of a little bit of what I talked about here, but what I want to see them do, what, you know, how I think they should do it, if they just go in order from 0 to Code Veronica or whatever. But as of now, we'd love to know what you guys think about this news. If you think this is real news, fake news. I know that's big, obviously a political thing, but fake news has been really big lately. But I want this to be real so bad, especially with me being in like a crazy Resident Evil frenzy, because I've been playing Resident Evil 7. That's like the only game I've been playing really, and I've been doing like Let's Plays for that since the day it came out. I've been playing that game, and I'm still having a great time with it. And I haven't even played the second playthrough yet. I've still just been doing the DLC stuff. I haven't even gone through that game twice. So I've had a ton of time with that game, and I would love for this show to really happen. But I want to know what you guys think about this news. Is it real? Is it fake? Regardless of whether or not it is real, I would love to know how you guys would like to see it portrayed. If you could choose actors, whether they're big name actors or lesser known actors, who would you choose to represent the characters from the Resident Evil games? How would you want them to actually like do the storylines for Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3? Specifically Resident Evil 1 and 2, because like I said, the characters are actually split up. You know, you have Ada and Leon. It's just like with the first game. It's like certain characters show up in other people's campaigns. So you have Ada for Leon's campaign. You have Sherry for Claire's campaign and stuff like that. So there are a lot of elements there, a lot of different ways they could do it. They could go the Chronicles route and just keep the characters together the whole time. They could separate them, which I think would make it a bit scarier, actually. But so many possibilities, just in general. It's an amazing thing to think of, and I just hope it ends up being true soon. We get some actual confirmation that this is real news. But like I said, we'd love to know what you guys think about the news. If you're already too excited, and you'll be crushed if it turns out to be fake. But all in all, I just want to know what you guys think about it. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.